Hi, everybody. Welcome to the next episode of Unplugged by Shape America. I'm your host, Stephanie Morris, and today I'm joined by a very special guest, Karen Wegge, who is the K-12 Physical Education and Health Curriculum Coordinator for DC Everest School District in Schofield, Wisconsin. And Karen also is an adapted physical education teacher at the high school level. So thank you so much, Karen, for being here today with us.
You're welcome. And thank you, Stephanie, for inviting me to the Unplugged series. And hello from Central Wisconsin, everybody.
So, Karen, first and foremost, how are you? How is life right now? Are you teaching? And if so, what does that look like?
Well, I'm doing well. My household has kind of settled into the work from home mode. But I tell you, it didn't happen overnight. My schedule no longer revolves around a bell ringing every 48 minutes, and it did take some effort to kind of redesign my workday. As Stephanie said, I work at DC Everest School District in Wisconsin, and we are a district of about 6,500 students, and I supervise and support 21 physical education and health teachers. In addition to my administrative duties, I also teach adaptive PE at the high school, and that transition has looked similar to others where we're doing IEPs online, virtual IEPs, sending home lessons and movement ideas with case managers. But really, as the year winds down, my focus right now is on the kind of the administrative end of year duties. And today is our annual 5th grade elementary track and field day. So for the first time, all the kids are participating at home. And that's just been really exciting to be a part of and help to organize that this year. And yeah, so that's kind of what's happening here.
That's terrific. And that is really exciting. I hope it all goes well. I'm sure it will. But what a great experience for the kids and their families. So with so many of us feeling the extra stress and anxiety of just living in a country grappling with this COVID-19 situation, what advice do you have for teachers on how they can manage their stress or anxiety and really take care of themselves? Sure.
I think we've all heard this information if we've been on a flight at one time or another when you see a visual or the stewardess says, please put on your own oxygen mask first before attending to others. And I feel like now more than ever, that's really important. And over the last 2 months, I think it's really become the ultimate test of leadership, knowing that I will be the person my staff turns to for direction and guidance through some of the things we are experiencing. And the best advice I can give right now is really, number one, just give yourself time to adjust to this new environment and set realistic expectations that include boundaries around your workday. So you don't find yourself working 24/7. And as we all know, kids will send assignments and messages, texts at all times of the night or day. And it's kind of easy to get sucked into that. So really, we really need to give ourselves permission to do less and know that it's okay. And we aren't really in control of this situation at all, despite our best lesson plans and activities. So again, just giving yourself that time to adjust. And next, I would say people first and learning second. This has really been a guiding principle for me as I work with my staff. When I'm unsure of maybe what's around the corner, what's going to be the next move, what's going to happen when school starts up in the fall, I always come back to this: people first and learning second. And I'll quote our superintendent, Dr. Christine Gilmore. She has said this many times over the past few months: if you don't take care of the people, the learning won't happen. And that's really a strong message that has stuck with me through this time. So as leaders, I feel it's our job to find out what our teams really need and do what we can to support them. And sometimes I feel like our audience are health and physical education teachers, and I think the message to take care of ourselves can get overlooked at times. physical, social, and emotional care is what we do. It's what we teach. But in this present situation, we also need to apply this care really to our everyday lives. And we have to encourage a new routine sometimes just to help us stay grounded. And for me, it's been setting my alarm on my watch to go take my dogs for a walk throughout the day. So just, I guess, simple things like that just kind of help a person stay grounded.
Wiser words have never been spoken. I thank you so much for all of that really thoughtful, reflective discussion, because it's so important that our teaching community hear it and absorb it and think about it. Are there any individuals or organizations or resources that you find yourself really drawing from right now, in particular around this self-care piece, that you would recommend to others?
Yes, I think there's a couple sites worth noting related to taking care of ourselves. And May is Mental Health Awareness Month, so we should be mindful of that as we navigate through this pandemic. But one site I often turn to is CASEL, which is the Collaborative for Academic, Social, and Emotional Learning. And if you enter their resource library, there's just a ton of information related to SEL, taking care of yourself, taking care of others, and just a real good place to look for some of those things. I think the CDC giving us accurate information and up to date. This site covers so many topics, whether it's schools reopening or travel recommendations. And if you go to their podcast section, they have a great A to Z topics basically that you can choose from. And on Twitter, I follow an organization, ADAA, which is Anxiety and Depression Association of America. And you can really find helpful tips and resources from the experts on this coronavirus anxiety. I didn't know it really had a name, but you know, that's what people are experiencing right now. And last but not least, I really have to mention Shape America, because I urge people to check out the updated resources for teaching virtual physical education and health. And it's really a great starting point for those looking for ideas on how to tackle the planning in the fall.
Thank you, Karen. And that is a great segue actually to talking about the fall. Obviously, I think most of us realize or expect that schools will look and feel very differently when we do reopen and kids go back. And that alone, I'm sure, is creating a certain level of anxiety and stress on our teachers as they think about what that will look like and how they will be able to have the most impact possible for their students. Mm-hmm. Do you have any words of advice or wisdom for our teachers as they think about making sure they're continuing this self-care and managing that stress and anxiety going back into the fall season?
Well, I agree with you, Stephanie. This fall will look different. And the difficult part in planning is that we don't have all the guidelines and restrictions for schools yet. And looking at the entire scenario is really overwhelming. But I think we can break it down into a couple smaller steps that are manageable for people. And my advice is this: to take the time now and start evaluating your curriculum and prioritizing what is most important for students to learn. And if you go through your current teaching practices and activities, I think you'll be surprised to find that many activities can be done with safe distancing practices or with minimum changes to your activities. And just remember that the activity is only the vehicle that we use to reach the end goal, and that can be adjusted. And if life returns to normal in the fall and there are no changes, we already know how to do that. We know how that works, but it's the what ifs that are challenging. And I've asked my staff to think of it in this way over the summer. Cut your curriculum in half and now prioritize this time with the most important concepts that you want to teach. And this may seem like worst case scenario, but I think it's a concrete starting point for teachers. And be creative about how we deliver this curriculum, whether it's going to be in a blended learning environment or, as we are now, 100% distant learning. And if we use this as a starting framework, I think we can always add more into the curriculum next fall. And so for me, that's just something simple that hopefully teachers can take a breath and go, okay, now I know where to start and I can move forward in little steps.
Thank you, Karen. Such wise words again. And yes, to all of that, right? Remembering to breathe and planning in advance for how to tackle this and approach it in a very different setting is a really, really wise way to approach it. So thank you. Any last words of advice for our audience today?
I think last words to leave you with are just remember people first and learning second, and be a leader with this in mind. And we are all in this together.
I think those are perfect closing words. I can't thank you enough, Karen. So thank you so much again for being on our show today and for these words of advice and wisdom. I hope that all teachers really take the time to reflect on these thoughts and make their own plan, both right now for self-care, because it's so important, and going into next fall. So thank you again so very much.
Yes, you're very welcome.
All right, everybody, that wraps up this week's episode of Unplugged by Shape America. I hope you tune in next time.